That one's like saying, where is my breakfast? This ain't normally breakfast. We usually get watermelon in the afternoon. Well, this morning they're getting watermelon in the morning. Well, good morning, guys. Welcome back to Papaw's place. As always, if this is your first time here, thanks for dropping in. Feel free to drop in anytime you feel, my friend. Guys, today I'm going to give a little late summer garden update here. Today is July the 20th, I believe. And I'm going to just give y'all a walk through and show y'all what has done petered out in the garden and what I've got started coming on as for my fall garden and what's going on today. Now, one thing you can see here was my cucumbers that I had planted, so when my other ones petered out, I would already have cucumbers coming. And these are the summer dance cucumbers, and you can see how beautiful they are right here in the high heat of the summer, and we up here at 95 plus degrees every day. Already done harvested a few cucumbers. There's one right there I'm gonna harvest this morning. So these was timed just right, so when my other ones started petering out, I thought, actually they kept going, they still going, we're gonna look at them, but they looking rough. These are coming on. Now these are the first summer dance that I'd planted this spring. And actually 3 weeks ago, when we come back from vacation, is when I said, well, these things, they about done what they gonna do. They was looking way rougher than what they looking right now. Then I got to watering them, and they started coming back, and we've been steady harvesting cucumbers. As you can see right here, one for today, and there's several still on here that'll be coming up. But you can see down here on the bottom, and I think what it is putting on new growth down here at the bottom. I just let them hang down instead of training them up the trellis, and this is getting shade from the afternoon, so the new vine is looking good on both ends. But probably what I'm gonna do, it ain't gonna be very much longer. I'm gonna clean all this out because we got the new cucumbers going out there, plus I got another in-ground plant coming on for even later crop of cucumbers. There's a squash I picked yesterday evening, laid it on the ground and walked off and left it. But there's my late squash that I planted, and as you can see, I got one yesterday. Here's another one right here, and we've already got 4 or 5 off of these new plants here. So that's 2 good squash, and you can see the blooms in there. Now I planted them for my second round of squash, because my first round, well, some of them still going over there. And then I planted some even later. And y'all wonder why I got so many squash planted, because in the high heat of the summer, when you pop them seeds in the ground, you really don't know how many you're gonna be able to keep going. So I plant plenty. And then down on this end, we got some more squash or either zucchini coming on. Also, coating pumpkins. I'm gonna zoom in. I set them way out yonder by the fence row because they done started ripening. So I just set them out there so he can see his pumpkins till they rot away. But we planted them way too early for Halloween. So I started some more right there, but I don't know if they'll make a pumpkin before Halloween. Like I said, this is our first year to grow pumpkins. Also, I got another cucumber plant right here coming on for extra late cucumbers to eat. And the tomatoes, you can see they look bad. with this heat. Plus I ain't been trimming off the old branches. But look at them, they still got big tomatoes on them. Now when it's hot as it is, I will be harvesting all of these tomatoes this morning. When it's this hot, I find it best don't try to leave them on the stalks till they turn red. Just go on and harvest them because they'll turn sitting up there on the table in about 1 day, 2 days. Now this one right here is the Hossinator. And it's produced well this year. These right here is the Celebrity Plus. They produced well this year. But still out of them two, I like the Hossinator better. That's the Cicada STM 2255. Taste wise, I can't taste no difference in them. I started a couple more late cantaloupes to see if I can get some late fall cantaloupes to eat. And then our eggplants, you see I got 3 big ones there need to be harvested. That one eggplant has been keeping way more eggplants than we can eat and plus give away. So we don't try to preserve eggplants or anything. We just eat them as they come. We just eat them as we harvest. And back here is the Purple Boy tomatoes. Now guys, these tomatoes has made more tomatoes, and y'all can see they still got a bunch of green tomatoes that put on late. Some that needs harvest. And the new growth up top is looking good, which is what I do every year. Let that new growth grow and hang back down the sides. Now normally I keep the other stuff cleaned off better than I am this year, but just ain't had the time to stay in the garden like I normally do. But look at the blooms. Now they say tomatoes don't set in the 90 degrees. Well, what do you call that right there? What do you call that? There's all kind of little tomatoes that set. Well, since we've been in the 90 degrees for the last 4 weeks or longer. That's the Purple Boys. Now they don't get that big. They're a small tomato. But for me and Sharon, that's been our favorite tomato for us, what we like taste-wise this year. It is very, very, very similar to the Cherokee tomato flavor. A friend of mine grew some Cherokees, and I brought a couple home the other day, and I cut them so I could eat them side by side at the same time. And they are, like I said, I couldn't hardly tell the difference in them. They're just small. Now the Florida 91s right there, they getting pulled out. Ain't but one tomato left on them. They didn't impress me any this year. This here's the red snappers. They made good, but y'all can see they're eat up with diseases. Even though that one over there got new growth coming on it. But as soon as they harvest the tomatoes and get them off of there, then we'll be snatched out. Now the Hossinator cucumbers. Lord, Lord, Lord. That's my second favorite cucumber now ever, because the summer dance has been my favorite. But these Hossinators, and I got several to harvest this morning, you see hanging all up in there. Actually should have been harvested a couple days ago. They're getting a little on the big side. But them things, back up so y'all can see. Them things has done wonderful. Now one thing too, they get in the shade earlier in the evening from them trees back here. And I think that helped them out over the summer dance I got hanging up front. Back here I think I planted me a late zucchini. This is where I was saying I think I popped 3 seeds in the ground. And only one of them come up, which is all we need just to keep us something to eat later. These tomatoes back here is the Hossinators, the Scotty STM 2255s. They have done awesome, just like they done last year for me, and they're still growing out the top, which is what I want to hang back over to have late tomatoes. They still setting fruit. You can see them little tomatoes on there, still got some brooms. Now no, tomatoes ain't gonna set fruit on every bloom like they do when it's cooler. But when you get for late tomatoes, all I'm trying to do is keep enough to eat, but it's putting on enough to eat. And y'all can see I still have a lot of tomatoes on there coming up to be harvested. And that's good, because I'm gonna need them. The okra is turned on. I think I harvested it yesterday. All the peppers is doing good. The only mistake I made this year, I shouldn't have planted the peppers right against the okra. I should have skipped the row and planted them on this row to give them more room so they ain't all touching there. But all the different peppers is doing great, but guys, I still ain't mastered growing big peppers. My bell peppers here is done way better than I ever done on bell peppers. But still, that ain't the size of bell pepper I want to grow. I want to grow big bell peppers. Now, I can grow big tomatoes when I set my mind to it. Seem to do all right with everything. I'm saving that okra right there for seed. That's the reason it's left on there, and I got one more on another stalk. But y'all see, I harvested yesterday. They gonna need it. The okra's got to be harvested every day. Out of 10 plants, we harvest and cut them up, and we usually get right at a quart bag every day lately. But the peppers has been doing more peppers than we need, but yet nothing like I did a couple years ago on growing peppers. But at the same time, I've never been able to grow big bell peppers. I do good at growing all the other peppers. So I don't know, maybe y'all can leave in the comments below tips on how to grow big bell peppers. I've tried different varieties. Them right there this year is some Hossinators, some Hoss tools, and they've done the best so far. Now, I done away with some gardening beds this year. These 3 beds I had right here, of course, one was contaminated or something. I never could get nothing to grow in it but a marigold, and them 2 on the other end. But I decided I'm taking them out because I was having to keep this little area mowed with the push lawnmower or weed eat around all that. Well, I took it out so I can come in here and just mow with my lawnmower. And I took out some other stuff out the other end of the garden. Now, my late tomatoes, this tomato plant right here was actually a plant that came from up under that sink. Just come up on its own. I didn't know what it is, but now that I'm seeing it, I'm thinking that's going to be the super sweet 100s. Because last year I had some planted in them beds down there that I took out. And I'm thinking that's what them's going to be. You can see they putting on tomatoes. So these are what I call my late summer and early fall eating tomatoes. The second one's the same thing, but I got lucky on it because it ended up being my favorite tomato of all time, and that's the Honey Delight. I always talk about every year. And the reason that tomato's grown like it is and so spread out, it was reaching for light. If y'all remember, I had corn planted in that bed, and I planted that tomato in the middle of that corn. Well, that tomato was reaching for light and never made no tomatoes. Once I got rid of the corn a few weeks ago, that tomato plant took off, which was the ideal situation because now I'm gonna have tomatoes to eat on throughout the summer and into the fall. into the winter. Now around this tomato plant, I planted just in seeds in the ground. That's my Catarina cabbage for the fall. I decided this year, instead of starting stuff indoors, I was going to see if I could start seeds straight in the soil beds out here. And y'all can see I got them planted thick, so when they start getting bigger, I can just pluck them up and place them how I want them, or either put some in another bed. But my thinking was, if I couldn't start the seeds in the bed and keep them going through the summer into the fall, I would just go buy some plants from the corner market at the last minute and plant instead of starting stuff indoors. Same thing right here with the broccoli, or the broccolini, whatever you want to call it. Y'all see I sowed it heavy, so I had to weed some of that out or dig them up and plant them somewhere else. But it's basically just utilizing starting outdoors. Let them start on their own, because I've always believed plants that start on their own outdoors is a stronger, better plant. On the other side of this bed, I done the same thing with cauliflower, but I guess it's still, with the high heat, cauliflower ain't wanting to start. I got a few of them come, and then I come back, I think 2 days ago, and planted them again just to see if I can start the cauliflower the same way. This was my last tomatoes that I had started. I started them in cups up under the cook shack up there. Now, but I done got confused. I can't remember if them was Florida 91s or them the Banditas. I'm hoping it's the Banditas. If they turn out orange looking, they'll be the Bandita. Bandita's a good tasting tomato too. But y'all see, again, people say tomatoes don't set fruit when it gets hot. Well, I'm sorry. Look at all the new little tomatoes. Now again, when it gets hot, you ain't gonna get as many tomatoes to set. But guys, all these are planted for is just to have tomatoes throughout the year, coming into the fall and winter to eat right up to the winter. And you can see how beautiful they are. But now these get in the shade pretty early in the day. Probably about 1 o'clock on, they in the shade. And they are just doing great. Now I did have to spray day before yesterday with some BT, because I started seeing some signs of them old hornworms starting to eat on some of my tomato plants. I ain't seen them on these yet, but I seen them on the older plants. And I thought I just seen a while ago on this plant somewhere, but anyway, I done sprayed them, and I'll wait a few days and I'll spray them again with BT. Now this is the last of what's left of the spring yellow squash. This was the, I can't remember. If I don't pronounce that right or getting confused, I'll put it in the screen. But you see, I got one this morning. But they finna get pulled out, because them other ones over there are starting to make squash, and all we want is just enough to eat squash every once a week or once every 10 days or so. But I cannot believe it's still going on this late myself, as hot as it is. So out here you see I done away with all the corn. I think I ended up with right at 50 ears of corn. Most of them come out of the main corn bed there, and then we got about, I don't know, 9 or 10 ears out of this one. And then that one out there, I didn't even get no ears. I pulled them up before they got what was on there, because I didn't plant them to grow corn to eat. Then I started covering some of my beds with plastic after I topped them back off. That way to kill the weed seed. I need to get out here and cover that one up. Right here I have my prism kale planted, trying to get it a good start, so it'll be when it gets into cold weather, it'll already be growing good. Be time to eat. When it starts getting into cool weather, that's when I like my greens. Now this here is what's left of the green egg. I got one laying on the table up there I pulled a couple of days ago. It's got one more bloom on it. I don't know if it'll make me another one or not. Stuff like this, guys, it depends on my mood. I may come out here just say this afternoon, and I may be in the mood to yank this out, get my beds covered up, because like I said, it's done great. Here we are, July the 20th. Exact same thing down here with the zucchinis. Y'all see I done pulled over half of them out, but we're still getting zucchinis off. There's one. There's another that's ready today. And it's starting to make more blooms. So when I think it's totally done, it'll start making blooms, even though they look horrible. And we keep getting enough zucchinis just to eat. But again, I cannot believe myself the temperatures we have, and this is still a going. If y'all wondering what them mounds is for, because almost every one of them has a vine borer done bored into the vine. Well, if that vine's laying there, if you'll cover that up, it starts setting more root like a tomato, and you can keep your plants going. If I wouldn't have done that, them would have been gone 3 weeks ago. Matter of fact, that's why I did that, because I come out of here harvesting. I was going to pull some of the old leaves off, and when I did, one of the plants just fell off, and then that's when I got to looking. Almost every one of them done got a vine borer in them. But hey, they made it this late. Shocked the crap out of me. All these beds is prepared for next year, or maybe something this fall. But what I was saying, I took out stuff. I took out on that back fence. I ain't planting nothing back there no more. The reason I done that is now I can just zip down through there with the mower, mow behind my blueberry bushes, trying to make it more convenient, easy to mow, to get around. The ground cherry is done great this year, but you can see the hornworms eat it up. Now, I've been spraying on this. It got eat up several weeks ago. I'm finna pull that out. I only planted that just so the grandchildren could taste of a few of them, because they ain't never eat them. Well, Colton had. I ain't big on them. It's just a little garden snack. You walk through and grab one and eat, two, handful, whatever you want. But you see, ain't a leaf left on there. But I ain't found the hornworm on there, because I started spraying that a long time ago. It just too hot to set new. Well, you can see I'm saying it's too hot to set new leaves. It's making new leaves. But it ain't gonna stay. It's gonna come out here in the next day or so. I call these the chocolate bell peppers. They supposed to be the whatever color peppers. But I guess all of mine ended up where they turned dark. I call them my chocolate peppers. There's some of the biggest ones. They load it down now. I mean, that's about as big as these supposed to get, but they need to be harvested. I'll harvest them here in a little bit. These little carnival blend peppers over here, they've been loaded all year. Planted way too many peppers, which I always plant way too many everything. I'll pull them off and go into the chiropractor after a while. I'll take them some peppers and stuff out the garden. Jalapenos. This little plant over here has been doing great. It's been staying loaded. And Sherry's been making a lot of the jalapeno, whatever you call them, wraps in bacon and cheese or whatever on the grill. The cayenne reds has been doing awesome back here in the back 2 pots. And then I got some, well, this is dinosaur kale. It's been here a long time, but you see insects is eating it up. But I got some new scattered in there coming up, so I can have it for the fall and winter. Out in the outside garden, these tomatoes, you know, I told y'all on a couple of videos, and well, the last one I knew what it was. That's the banditas. They are orangey looking tomato. Out of the tomatoes I got this year, them and the purple boys is the ones we've been eating the most, me and Sharon herself. We just like the way they taste. So these will be coming on, because these was way later planted. I'll let them grow and continue to do what they gonna do. Now the watermelons, you see I done pulled all the watermelons up. The watermelons was horrible this year. Worst year I ever had on watermelons. Little bitty watermelons. Cantaloupes. Cantaloupes I think done average this year, but the possums eat about as many as I got to eat. I ended up catching 2 of the possums. I don't know if y'all seen that video. I took care of them 2. Then about 4 or 5 days later, another one started showing up, but I ain't caught him. The little sneaky joker come in here. You see that cantaloupe right there that's just starting to turn a little bit? Well, guys, look at here. He showed up last night. I was just finna tell y'all, when they start turning and I say I'm gonna leave them a couple more days, damn suckers, I guess they know when they ripe enough they can eat them. He come again last night and got that one. Guarantee, I'm telling y'all, the possums has eaten more cantaloupes this year than I have. But it ain't but just a few little ones left. And again, I'm on one knee and walk out here and say I'm done. Here's one right here I might as well pull early, because if I don't, he'll come back tonight and get it. I just had, that's earlier than I like to pull them. But if you don't, that's about the only way I've been able to get any this year, is pull them early before the possums get them. Now I caught them in them traps right there by putting, and probably what I'm going to do in a minute, take that one he eat off of and put in this trap and move the trap somewhere else and try to trick him. See if I can catch him. Them little peppers out here ain't done much of nothing, which we don't need them anyway, but that's what I call when the spring I had extra plants. I just planted them out here. Now the best watermelons, prettiest watermelons I ever grown in my life, come up on their own. Them are sugar babies. But I messed up. The first one, the biggest one, was right there. Well, the little twisty tail on it that turned brown, and I pulled it. Well, I pulled it a little too early. It wasn't ripe enough. Now I got a couple more out of here, smaller ones, which is about the size of that one right there. But we still got 1, 2, I see 3, 4, and there's one over there in that pot with that sheep laying in it. So I still got 5 more watermelons that I'm gonna be able to eat, and that's been my best watermelons, best tasting watermelons, best looking watermelons of this year's watermelon growing. And they come up on its own. And guys, I have not watered this plant not one time. I don't understand it. In the greenhouse, here's where the one plant come up right there. I have not put any water. Only water it gets is when it rains, and we ain't been getting no rain. It's drier than a powder house. So guys, as y'all can see, after walking around showing y'all everything, the garden done awesome this year. Especially to start out the way I started out in the spring, because I was wanting to pull it all up and start over. And I'm glad I didn't, because it absolutely done wonderful. And like I said, I know it looks horrible right now, them tomatoes and stuff, you gotta remember, it's July the 20th. Normally here, everything's like that. I mean, you can't expect it to look good. We ain't had rain in 4 weeks right here at the house. In 4 weeks. So all this gets when I water. And that's another thing, I started pulling stuff out of them beds. And I'm learning what I need to plant out yonder early in the spring. That way, not use up all my rows in this in-ground garden, because it's set on drip irrigation. So once that starts getting in the heat of the weather, I can plant some more out here, just like I did them squash. And then I can keep it watered simple and not be dragging around trying to water stuff out there. As soon as it gets to where I have to start heavy watering, I'm only want to grow it really just enough for me and Sharon to eat, but it's always more still. But I'm not going to waste water out there just growing stuff when it's this hot. I do the same thing with the flowers and zinnias. We love planting our flowers and our zinnias and keeping them going pretty into the spring, early summer. But when it gets this hot and you got to water them every other day, we just stop, and that's the end of that, because we ain't got time to come in and take care of flowers, garden, rabbits, chickens, make videos. We both work. So we just quit watering our zinnias altogether. And when they come to an end, they come to an end. We cut the flowers off of them to save for seeds. Then later on, I'll pull that mess out. But right now, I'm needing all of these late tomatoes. I had been saving enough tomatoes and putting them in the freezer. We had an old freezer out back to store stuff in until we got ready to can our tomatoes. Well, lo and behold, a couple of days ago, I went out there and that freezer had done went out. So I lost all my tomatoes. And of course, we had flour and cornmeal stored in there. Some of it was still from probably 2020 when all the crap hit the fan in the world. So I lost all of that, what we call our overflow freezer. We lost everything, and all my tomatoes I had saved up to can. But I'm gonna still have plenty of tomatoes. You take these tomatoes right here, set them on the table up there under the cook shack. In 2 days, they'll be done turned to what you need. And then I'm gonna either can tomatoes or get a different little freezer to store them in until I can them. These Hossinator cucumbers, guys, they make good sized slicing cucumbers, and they've been good. So far, I haven't got a bitter one this year off of them, which is a great sign as a good cucumber to me. And some people's gonna say all cucumbers could be bitter if you don't water them and grow them right. And I agree with that. But there you can also find varieties that work best for you in your area, and maybe it's cause of my watering plan, how I do it. That's why them summer dance, I've always stuck with them, because they've always done great for me. Now my second ones that I found this year, because this is my first year to grow them, is them Hossinators. Now I will be doing research and find out what exactly the variety of these are, because they're not Hossinators. But I think Mr. Greg over at Hoss knew good varieties to put his name on. because this is the Hossinator tomato. And for me in my area right here in northeast Louisiana, these always does great, makes pretty sized tomatoes. Now y'all know, I don't know, last year, year before last, I done a big tomato growing contest. You can get these to grow bigger tomatoes too. You just have to prune off your suckers and prune off some of your tomatoes off of your clusters. Don't let them have too many on each cluster. But I ain't had time to do none of that this year, so I'm just getting what I get. And cause it don't matter to me. Just like with the purple boys, that's my favorite to eat on my bacon tomato sandwiches this year. And them banditos. I don't care that they little like that. It don't take me but just a second to slice another tomato. I ain't gotta have one tomato slice that big to cover a whole sandwich. I can put 3 or 4 on my sandwich and I'm happy. Another reason you want to pick your tomatoes early when it's high heat like this, when they just start turning pink, it's because you leave them on there in high heat like this, and then when you do water, you cause them to split like that. So that's why I pull them early and let them turn on the table. Now in the spring when it's still cool, no, I like leaving them on and turn red on the vine because they taste even better if they turn red on the vine. But in the high heat, I'm telling you, you'll lose too many tomatoes or they'll start looking like that. There's gonna be 3 or 4 cucumbers gonna be ready to pick in the morning, but I'm gonna let them get a little bit bigger. Okay guys, there's our harvest for today. So guys, as you can see, the garden is still doing good, but it's coming to an end on certain plants. But Papaw's got a new round coming on. Y'all just gotta hang in here with me and see if we can keep some of this new stuff going through August. If we can make it for the next 4 or 5 weeks, 6 weeks, with the new stuff, I'm gonna have a jump on the fall plants. So y'all just have to hang in there with me. And if you're a new viewer and ain't never subscribed to my channel, please reach down there and hit that button. Don't cost you a thing. It does help me on my YouTube channel. And I used to tell people don't watch any videos that you're not interested in. And I still tell you don't watch any videos that you're not interested in, but punch that play button. Turn the volume off so you ain't gotta listen to me talk. And just let that video play. That's the best way you can help me out right here at Papaw's place. But guys, I'm finna go in there, get this stuff put on a table, put some of it in the box, go run through the shower real quick, and I gotta go to the chiropractor this morning. I'm still having to go. Now I'm only going about once every 2 weeks, but usually I wait too long. And like this morning, yesterday after mowing, it's hurting a little bit. But as always, guys, hope y'all hang in there, endure this hot weather we having in the south, and have a blessed day. God bless. See y'all next time.